Prayer has always been a difficult, awkward reality for me. As a kid, I was taught that when I closed my eyes and addressed that reality called God, I would sense the presence of an unseen being. And if I listened closely enough, I might even hear an inner voice that would give me guidance, change my disposition, or give me the strength I needed to be the best person I could be. Perhaps it was so for other mortals, but for this one, alas, it was not to be. The silence I experienced in prayer was deafening, and the aloneness was profoundly discouraging. So, how does a person like me go from that discouraging experience back then to thinking and feeling today that the prayers of the people are the most important part of our worship communities coming together? A sacred moment that is equal to or even more important than the sermon. When I was finishing my master's degree, I chose as my thesis the problem of prayer for contemporary man. I examined the various types of prayer, including prayers of praise and gratitude. Those were the easy ones. It was petitionary prayer, the prayer where you ask for something. That was the difficult one. Of course, especially when you were asking for something really serious, like health for a loved one in crisis, or the protection of innocent people in a war-torn world. Let me stop here briefly and take you with me on a quick trip to the northeastern side of the Greek peninsula, near the top of the Aegean Sea. Here you will find the city of Thessaloniki, founded in 315 BC by the father of Alexander the Great. Today, it is Greece's second largest city, with over 1 million people. Here is the theater built by the Romans, and it's still in use today. Around 50 years after the birth of Jesus, and 20 or so years after his death, none other than St. Paul visited this city, started a mixed church of Jews and non-Jews, and likely sat in that theater. In the first of his 2 letters back to the members of the new organization, he wrote something that I find interesting. He tells them to pray without ceasing, to pray nonstop. How curious. Is he telling them to disengage from the rest of life, go out into the desert, and become an isolated full-time meditation group, a hermitage, as happened about a century later in Egypt? Perhaps, but I don't think so. Because right after those words, he tells them to give thanks in all things, whatever comes their way in day-to-day living, in their congregation, and in their city. And so, praying gets redefined as faithful living, 24/7. Perhaps the Scottish poet James Montgomery said it best in 1818 when he wrote, "Prayer is the soul's sincere desire, unuttered or expressed, the motion of a hidden fire that trembles in the breast." And that means that prayer takes many forms. Sometimes it is the folded hands and the closed eyes. Other times it's a phone call, a text message, an email, or a card to a friend, or an in-person visit. Sometimes it is giving a ride to a medical appointment. Sometimes it is crocheting or knitting. Sometimes it is delivering furniture. Sometimes it is filling backpacks, cooking, or even attending a board or a committee meeting or a music rehearsal. Sometimes it is holding a sign beside a crowded highway. Prayer takes many forms. It is not a unique, special ritual. It is the motivation behind our everyday activities and interactions, the soul's sincere desire, unuttered or expressed. And so we enter now into that time that we call the prayers of the people. And later, when the focus that we call worship is ended, the activity of prayerful service begins anew as we start the week together and as individuals.